Okay, I'm going to talk about high stick nymphing, or what they're calling check nymphing lately. But a long rod helps because reach makes a difference. But the key to nymphing is getting the nymph down to the trout and having it move at the speed of the current at the bottom of the river, and having the trout see it and pick it up. Most people fish with an indicator. They use a floating fly line, they put an indicator on it, and they put a long leader down to where their fly is. The problem is that their fly line and strike indicator are moving at the speed of the surface water, which is much faster than the speed of the water down where the trout are. So what you really want to do is get your fly down to the trout with minimum drag from anything going through the surface. So the secret to it is not to have your line on the water and not to use a floating indicator, and only have in the water monofilament, which doesn't drag like the fly line or the indicator will. So out the end of your fly rod, you have a segment of line that you can hold up out of the water, to which you attach a leader. And this is the leader that I built when I'm high stick nymphing. It's a span of my arms of a tapered 1X leader, cutting off by a 9-foot 1X leader, cut off the last several feet of it, tie a perfection loop on the front, and then tie it to an arm's length of cider material. And then tie to that an arm's length from your chest of 12-pound monofilament. I use this Fluoro Clear. I buy them in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 12. It's essentially 6X, 5X, 4X, 3X material. And then to the end of that, you tie a tippet ring to which you'll tie your leader. And what I do before I tie that on is I put on a little piece of this line strike indicator. The best stuff was made of old nylon core fly line, but you can't get it anymore. Rio makes this stuff, which is foam. The problem being it wants to float, but there's enough weight on your point fly that it'll pull it under. But you can still see this under the water down to a couple feet. So that's how the leader is. It's about 10 feet long. And then to that tippet ring, you tie a leader proper. And the leader proper can have a couple of options. This being the nymphing leader. Tippet options. This is what I like. About 4 feet tied to the tippet ring, and then straight down to the fly. It's a weighted fly. It sinks. Only this is in the water, so it doesn't float, doesn't get pulled by the river. 2 flies. In the middle, you can tie a surgeon's knot. The lower tag end, you can tie a second fly on with the point fly below. If you tie to the upper tag end, it'll break. If you need a weight to get down, say, unweighted nymphs, the best thing to do is to take a long tippet, tie a fly on, leave a long tag in, put a split shot there, and then tie a surgeon's knot on with this one. That is probably the most effective. Put this nymph about that far above the bottom, which is about where the nose of a trout would be. But this is a good way to get unweighted flies down. This is a good way to get flies down if this is a beadhead or something. One of the ways that I fish 2 flies is I just slip the top fly above a knot, tie a knot in there, either from 4X to 5X, or just tie a figure 8 knot in there and let it slip down against it. That allows you to change this fly without cutting 2 knots. If you use this type of setup, which most people do, they'll tie a dropper off of the hook bend. If you want to change that fly, you got to cut them both. You got to tie 2 more knots. I don't put weight upstream of the flies because it's critical that you feel them. And this can drift around who knows where. The trout will pick it up, spit it out, and you'll never know it because you won't feel that split shot move. But this is the way I like to fish, just one fly. If I'm going to do two, I'll probably do this. This is probably smarter. This puts the fly right where the fish is. And the beauty is if that gets hung up in the rocks and you pull it, you won't lose your flies. That split shot will just slide off the end. So that's how I fish them. And the secret is when you cast with these arrangements, the casting sucks because you got no weight loading the rod. You just got a few feet of line that gets the leader headed in the right direction. So you can't fly cast like you normally do. What you'll do is you'll follow it down the river and then pick it up and sort of throw it in a loop and put it back on the water. And that's how you high stick nymph. And the video that I did fishing the other day, shows how effective it can be. Because the beauty of it is, as this sinks, you can see this. This is probably somewhere, the line goes under the water, someplace in the middle of the tapered leader. So this is probably under the water, maybe not. This indicator certainly is under the water. And then you've got another 4 or so feet to your fly. But in clear water, you'll see this go down. And if you need to, you could put a piece of that indicator somewhere along here, as long as it sinks. The big thing you want to do is isolate yourself from the surface velocity of the water. So that's how I do it.